All right, welcome to this week's edition of Ask Jaws. If you'd like to get one of your questions answered, you can reply to me on Twitter with hashtag AskJaws or reply here in the comments of this video. Got a lot of questions this week, so I'm just going to jump right into it and try not to ramble too much with the answers. Now, the first question is from Tyler. He wants to know if Pat Maroon decided he was going to sit on the Cup. What the hell happened to the Cup? Well, I'll tell you this. Yesterday in the afternoon, about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was scrolling down Twitter and I saw somebody had posted. I didn't even watch it. I just saw that they were getting ready to ride on a jet ski with the Cup in their lap. And I thought to myself, that's stupid. That's a good way. And I looked close enough to see it didn't look like it was strapped to anybody. Does the Stanley Cup float? You see what I'm saying? It seems like a pretty dangerous thing to do. I won't get into the whole respect of the Cup thing because then everybody's going to bring up all the other times that it's been nicked and dinged and other things have happened to it. Is it supposed to be this sacred thing that you never touch and look at, or do you go take it on jet skis? Or is there some place in the middle? I think everybody has a different opinion. For me, seeing the Cup in that condition there's gotta be something else that we can do here, right? Right? Maybe like a play cup. You know what I mean? The real one stays in the case, and here's your pretend cup. Since you guys are acting like children anyway, and you're drunk for 3, 4 freaking days in a row, and just the Cup on a jet ski, that was just over and above sanity, in my opinion. All right, Terrence Anthony had a couple of questions with a lot to say, and I appreciate that. Mainly, the big thing was Ian Cole, Alexiak, and what's the deal with Yandle and his no-move clause. Now, I'm gonna add to that. Now, you saw today with Parise and Suter getting released. Not saying we should definitely go get 1 or 2 of those guys, but in terms of Cole and Alexiak, there's going to be people available. You've got this flat cap this year, right? So between now and the expansion draft, and then on expansion day, you're going to see a lot of this going on. You're going to see a lot of, ooh, whoa, I didn't see that happening, and buyouts and movement and weird trades like yesterday. So I don't think anybody, I mean, you just make a list. Zito is just making a list, and I think by the time the expansion draft is over, that list is going to be pretty large, and you're going to be able to get a couple of decent players. Any team will be able to get some decent players at a decent price, because with that flat cap, you know, teams aren't going to have a lot of money to spend unless they get creative. In terms of Yandle and his no-move clause, your guess is as good as mine, bud. What I made the video saying that if he doesn't waive, buy him out. And then with the Parise and Suter buyouts today, obviously GMs might be willing to do that. So personally, what I would like to see is him not waive and we buy him out and we just eat the cap. That's what I would like to see. Unless of course Zito can find a sucker to take an aging defenseman and give us a good player and a pick in return and keep the cap hit. I don't know how that would happen, but apparently it's possible. All right, so Sal had a couple of questions. He wants to know if I watch any baseball and can we get some more fluffy segments. So the answer to the first part with fluffy is yeah. It's summer right now. Obviously, you know that. The point is it's brutally hot. So we go to the river. He's not real active at the river. He's walking around, he's having a good time. But then the rest of the day, he's inside. He wants nothing to do with going outside. So there's not a lot of outside playtime going on. I do take the footage of Fluffy when I'm at the river, and Ellie too. Let's show her some love too. She's the one you always hear howling in the videos. But I'll make it a point to throw in some extra footage since I'm not doing intros now. We've got a couple of months, so I'll be mindful of that. Do I watch baseball? I used to. No. The last bit of baseball I watched was on opening night when the Marlins were moving to the new stadium and they wheeled Muhammad Ali out there shaking. And I don't know what that did to me, but I just felt like this is just overkill. I just really did not like that they wheeled him out there to be a spectacle. Let's just put it that way. I think it showed tremendous disrespect. Even though I know that he allowed himself, his handlers allowed him to be wheeled out there. I didn't like it. And, you know, time-wise in my life, I only have so much time to watch so much. Now, if the Marlins suddenly got good again, would I flip on a playoff game or a World Series game? Probably. You know what I mean? But I haven't watched any baseball with the exception of when the Cubs won the World Series since the Marlins wheeled Muhammad Ali out there. All right, so Colby wants to know if I think the Panthers have a chance at winning the Atlantic Division next year, and then Stefan on my nuts, pretty much asking the same thing. What does my head say? What does my heart say? So we'll answer all of that in one thing. Do I think they have a chance to win the division next year? I was going to say no. And then I see how Tampa Bay is celebrating. And I'm not saying that they won't try to win 3 in a row. But winning 3 in a row was tough. Now, we saw during the regular season, I think it's safe to say Tampa didn't take us real seriously during the regular season. Okay? Vasilevsky had a terrible save percentage against us, and we had a good record against Tampa. As soon as the lights turned back on, and they were at full capacity, full strength, and the games counted, you see what happened. Now, obviously, we're going to get Ekblad back next year. We don't know who's in goal. We hope for Spencer Knight, but we don't know what the hell is going to happen, what the split is going to be there with Bobrovsky. I would not think that we're going to win that division. That's the short of the answer. I think we're a solid second place. I think we're definitely a solid second place. But there's 5 teams in that division that made the playoffs, including the 2 finalists. I think the team that's definitely not going to make the playoffs next year is Montreal. And I know some Montreal fans are going to laugh at me, and I can see the thumbs down. I just think the competition in that division, I think it's going to be too much for Montreal. And I'm not so sure what's going to go on with Boston. So, you know, with Tuukka Rask and the goaltending situation, and obviously their core is getting older, almost as old as I am. So my head and heart actually say the same thing. Second place in the division. That said, whatever has to happen for us to play the Leafs. I want to play the Leafs. I don't want to play Tampa first. Let's play Tampa in the Eastern Conference Final and vanquish Darth Vader when they're, you know, on the cusp of 3 in a row. That's the best I think we can do there. I want to play Toronto. I want to play the Leafs so that we can extend their misery, and at the same time, Steve Dangle might actually answer a message or a tag on a post and do a collaboration with me. It could happen. It could happen. So Rosado wants to know if I think Bobrovsky did better when we put the puppets in the intros. It's an interesting question, but I actually think he did worse without them, which would mean he did better with them. The reason why I'm thinking about it in that terms is because a lot of the times the intro, the puppet intro, if it was Bubba Brewski, it was because in the previous game Bobrovsky had played like crap and now Drieger or Knight was playing. So that means the night before I probably didn't have puppets and he didn't do well. That said, that's an interesting question for those of you who hate the puppets. Would you rather have me do puppet intros and then the team plays well as a result of the puppet intros, or no puppets and then not so much? But in terms of Bobrovsky, I would have to say I think he must miss the puppets. It's probably what it is. It's probably, although maybe if he actually likes the puppets, maybe at that point he plays bad on purpose so that in the next game he can see Bubba Brewski come on and talk some trash. Tyler wants to know what kind of camera and microphone I use. Now for all of these videos, basically it's one shot. It's the Canon XA15. The microphone when I'm in here is the camera's microphone. I have a Shure microphone. I'm not sure what the model is. And I bought it with all the extra equipment. When I bought the camera, I bought the whole package. I bought the camera, the tripod, the Shure mic, and everything else that came with it. And it was about $2,200 from Best Buy because I bought all the warranties and all that crap. I love the camera. Now I do have my other backups, just in case. But I baby this camera. I absolutely do. I love it. And the microphone, like I said, I have the Shure, but I haven't been real happy with the Shure microphone when it's been at a distance like this. Now I did just buy a podcast mic, but it was just a generic $20 mic for the live streams. I'm obviously happy I bought this camera when I had money. Let's put it that way. I would not be able to rebuy this camera right now, that's for sure. But if you're looking to start up something, I would recommend going with something a little bit cheaper. Even now, I looked and refurbished, one of these is $1,400-1,500, but it's worth every penny, man. I love this camera. All right, Alexander the Great, who was just on one of the Patreon interviews last week, he would like to know who I think would have won the Conn Smythe had the Panthers finished off the Avalanche in '96. To me, there's no question it would have been John Van Beesbrook. And, like I said, my first dog, his name was Beezer. If we were going to beat Colorado in that series, you see what was going to have to happen. He literally pitched a 5.5 period shutout, and we still lost Game 4. You see what I'm saying? So no question in my mind, it would have been him, and it is not even a close second. All right, so Tyler wants to know who my favorite player on the Panthers is and in the NHL overall. For the Panthers, that was a little bit of a tough one for me. I was thinking Huberdeau, but I'm going to go with Weegar, especially this last year, especially now that he's got the flow. He's got the hair working, a little bit of attitude working. I like how he's looking. I like the way he plays. My favorite player, in terms of overall in the NHL, will probably surprise some people. That's Tuukka Rask. First of all, I love that when he makes a save, the crowd yells "Two," and you can't tell if they're booing or not. So I always like that. But I just love his he loses it, right? He gets pissed off and he loses his mind. If you've watched a couple of my videos, you can see why I kind of have a thing for Tuukka Rask. All right, so Nerfo wants to know if I think we should buy out Strawman or Yandle. Those are two different answers. Yes, I think we should buy out Yandle. I think Strawman is movable. I think that contract and his level of play, I think there's a way out of that contract without buying him out. What do I think we will do? Honestly, I think we're probably going to buy out Yandle. That might be some wishful thinking on my end, but I don't think he's movable, and I don't think he'll waive the no-move clause. Strawman, as much as I would like to see him go, I have a feeling the Panthers are going to hang on to him for one more year. He wasn't terrible in the playoffs. If you got a veteran defense guy that can come in and eat up some minutes when you need him to, if there's an injury or something, he's not the same player he was, but he did come into the playoffs and have fresh legs and he looked okay. You know what I mean? He wasn't noticeably bad. He was actually a little bit better. He was a calming influence. So while I wouldn't be completely upset if we moved him, I don't think we have to buy him out. I think it's just the one more year, right? So I think just let him come back as your 7D, no harm. But I don't think there's a need to buy him out. I just don't think we will. So Tyler sent me this graphic about the most playoff series wins since 2005 and wants to know what I think it says. To me, I think what it says is draft your core players, keep them, and build around them. Do not change plans in the middle of the plan. See the plan through. Even if it's not going to completely get you all the way to the promised land of winning the cup, make the plan, keep the plan, execute the plan, and you'll at least be a consistent winner. So One Bad Steve says he doesn't really feel so bad for the Oilers because they have McDavid, and he'd like to know which player in the NHL, if we could just transfer him to the Panthers for free, who would I pick? Well, I didn't want to just go with the easy answer, which would be McDavid. And we are pretty set at center, although obviously he'd be an upgrade. But actually, if I looked at the NHL and I looked at our needs and I threw in the part where it's players that we could have drafted and didn't, the answer I would pick is Adam Fox. Don't get me started, but apparently townspeople thought he was just a systems guy with good numbers and argued against taking him. That's the guy, Fox. So Jeff wants to know if I've ever seen it rain when it's sunny. Well, I'm born and raised and grew up in Florida, so we certainly know I've seen that. I've also seen it rain when it's about 20 degrees outside. I've seen it snow when it's about 45 degrees outside. I've seen coffee tossed off a second-story window and turn into black coffee, snowdrops, icicles on its way down. But my favorite thing would be to stand outside the second-story dorm room I had while I was in the Air Force in Alaska, and you take the Coke can, you shake it up, and you open it up, point it downwards, and you have probably about 2 feet before it hits the ground. If it's cold enough, about 40, 50 below, you will have a giant Cokesicle, and then the guys in the dorm room below you, they open up their window and they start licking the Cokesicle while you're holding it, and it's got some weird sexual innuendos to it. I didn't do it twice. So Chris Grega wants to know if the guy whose initials stand for toilet paper is going to repeat at the Tour de France like the Lightning just did. I don't know if he's going to repeat, but he needs to eat a cheeseburger. Okay? He got rejected to be an extra in Schindler's List. You see what I'm saying? 5'9", 146. 5'9", $1.46. Eat some pancakes. All right, that was it for this week. A lot of good questions. Interesting stuff. I cannot wait for the regular season to start to see how much you guys are throwing at me. If you'd like a question in next week's video, like I said, hashtag AskJaws on Twitter, or in response to this video, or you see it on YouTube. You can also try to message me, but that means it's going to be iffy if I remember it. If I can go search hashtag AskJaws, pretty good chance I'm going to remember. Now, there were a couple of questions that were very long and too in-depth, so I may do a video over the course of the next week answering that question. But if I don't get to your question, it's usually because the answer was too in-depth, or I didn't have enough coffee and I forgot. So I appreciate everybody's support. Like, share, subscribe. Tomorrow is Wednesday, right? I'm going to do some football tomorrow. But I also got to talk about the whole thing with the buyouts going on, because maybe we'll get a little bit new news. So tomorrow's going to be a twofer. All right? We're going to have some hockey. We're going to have some football. And you never know what happens. Karen's not going to be home most of the day and into the evening, so you never know what craziness, what kind of trouble I might get myself into.